What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is Lou Dobbs. Lou Dobbs is the host of the #1 business program on television, Lou Dobbs Tonight. He's also got a brand new book out titled The Trump Century, How Our President Changed the Course of History Forever. The link to that book is pinned in the comment section down below. I'm very honored to have him on the podcast today, so smack the subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with Lou Dobbs on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, first-class father Lou Dobbs. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Alec, thank you very much. Great to be with you.
All right, let's start it like this. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
Well, there are 4 of them, and they range anywhere from 50 to 32.
Wow. You got grandkids too, or what?
5 of them. They range everywhere from 9 to 14.
Wow, awesome stuff. Lou, if you could just take 1 minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
I'm the host of Lou Dobbs Tonight on the Fox Business Network. I've been at television news in one form or another for about 40 some odd years, and that's what I do. To put that in context, I got my Lifetime Achievement Emmy 15 years ago, so I'm on this time.
Yeah, you've definitely been doing this for quite a while now. Going all the way back to when you first became a father, about how old were you when you first became a dad, and how did becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
Well, I was relatively young, 25, 26. How did it change? I was young and thought I could do everything, include, raise a kid, be a father, whatever, and also pursue a career full time. The career won out at that age. I'm one of those guys who could say, I wish I knew then what I know now, but that isn't the way life works. And, I was, I think, a better father, certainly by the time my younger kids were born.
Yeah, good stuff. And we're going to get to your new book, The Trump Century, in just a minute here. I know you wrote a book called War on the Middle Class, and this whole pandemic has really been just that financially. It has taken a big toll on the middle class. That combined with the riots that have really devastated a lot of middle class business owners, small business owners and stuff like that. What would you say, or what kind of advice, or what do you see this economic recovery? How long do you see it taking, and when can the middle class expect to see some light at the end of the tunnel here?
Well, I think the middle class is made up of people who have struggled for the most part, who have aspired to be in the middle class. This country is, the American dream, Alec, is alive and well. It isn't static. The middle class is made up of those who have been working hard, oftentimes starting out poor as they can be. I'd be one of those people who had to work and to do his best to move up the economic ladder. Millions and millions and millions of Americans do that. It's what makes the country great. So they're not daffodils and buttercups who have to be somehow swaddled and coddled. The reality is Americans are coming through this, I think, better than a lot of people would have thought. Are people struggling? Most certainly. And are people going through some deprivation? Absolutely. But, I see us emerging from this better as a people, better as individuals. And I think it'll happen I think we'll see real progress by the end of this year. What happens after that, of course, is in large part determined by who we put in the White House for those next 4 years. It's going to be critically important.
Yeah, agreed. Well said, Lou. And, one of the things I talk about on the show a lot here is that, financial literacy, economics is something that's so important, but yet it's not really taught at the grade school level, the high school level of our education system. And I think it should be, especially, introductory to this stuff. What kind of advice would you give to parents out there on how to introduce, or how should they introduce their kids to financial literacy and economics?
I think that a great way is to show them what a checking account looks like, show them what a dollar buys, and also show them how careful they are with those dollars they have. Because being careful with the money you have is about keeping that money. It's too often we don't stress savings enough in our families, or certainly with our children. And it's really important. And I think that the kids, by the time they're 5 or 6, should understand that parents are investing in themselves first. And I know this is sort of upside down to the way most people think. They think they should be putting that money into the kids. But people should be putting it into themselves, because they've got to provide for those kids. They've got to create an environment in which they're safe and stimulated and secure. That means invest in yourself, your education. And as you're talking about, most people trying to teach children how to save and how to manage a budget don't know themselves. So the first thing to do is invest in that education for themselves.
Yeah, good stuff. One of the books I just gave my son's a freshman in high school. My oldest, I got 4 kids myself, and I just gave him the Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell to kind of give him like an introduction into it. But yeah, and I would say on that too, one of the things that buries a lot of the dads out here is that they're still paying off college debt themselves. They're still paying off the loan while they're trying to save for college for their own kids, and it just seems like such a daunting task for so many of them. And I know you're a Harvard guy yourself here. In your opinion, is it necessary for kids to have a college education today to succeed in today's world?
Well, I think that it isn't necessary, but I do think that a man or woman in this day and age needs to be fully educated. And it does not assure anyone that they're educated because they went to Harvard or they went to a community college or a tech institute. That's no assurance at all. It just means that somebody was trying to educate them. The rest is obviously up to the individual. One of the great myths, Alex, is that people should be spending every dime they've got to put a kid in this college or that, a private university, $60,000 a year. And I have to tell you, my heart bleeds for those people, because those parents who are trying to do everything they can for those kids have to understand it's up to the kid. And there is no way in the world that kid, a loving family, would want those parents to be in debt for $100,000, $200,000 for their education that they can get usually within 10 miles of their house at a community college, which is one of the greatest bargains in education in this country. And too many families overlook it. And it is a family decision. It isn't about an 18-year-old making his or her decisions. They may have desires, but those decisions so powerfully affect the family, their finances, and their future, that it has to be a family decision. And I would just urge everyone always to look at that community college or distance learning as another better way for the dollar to get an education. And it should be a matter of commitment on the part of that student as to whether or not they're going to put the kind of effort in to get that education that they both deserve and which they must desire, and desire immensely. Whether it's working 3 jobs, whatever, but whatever you do, and if I could say this to the young people watching it, don't put your parents in that kind of position. Don't put yourself in the position of being $100,000 in debt to get something that is both necessary, desirable, but it's illusory because it is not a trade-off that you want to make. It goes to the heart of finding value and not price in the importance of things.
Yeah, very well said, Lou. And even now, you mentioned distance learning. Everybody right now, they're learning on the screen. They're doing this virtual stay-at-home schooling, and they're still paying that big ticket price of these colleges. And it seems like they're kind of just throwing it away at this point.
I hope that every parent watching you hears me say this. You tell that university to go to hell. There is no excuse for that money to be written out of your pocket for a university that is not providing everything that was involved in the initial contract: room, board, a quality education. This is crazy what we're watching universities get away with, and they're not doing it for any other reason than to maintain their high standard of living for their employees, rather than they're not thinking about the students. Because the honest answer here is, In anything else, Alec, think about this. Anywhere else in this country, we look at efficiency and productivity, but never in the university system, or for that matter, government itself. But the university system, the college system in this country, they want that money. They go through tuition hikes that are not explicable by inflation rates rising over the course of years. It is simply because they are the least productive, least efficient institutions in our country outside of government itself.
Yeah, good stuff, Lou. And I know it's a struggle for a lot of parents out there right now, especially too having the kids that were supposed to be going away for school. Some of them are now home, and it's created a lot of challenges for many and parents, especially like myself. I have one child that's staying home with us for the entire school year right now. He's 5 days home. I have 3 that are 5 days in. So it's kind of made a mess of the schedule for everybody. But let me turn it over to your book here that's available now at the time we're putting this out here, The Trump Century. What was the genesis of you writing the book here? What can you tell listeners about it?
Well, I think that this is the most underrated president, certainly by the left-wing national media, the radical Dems, the loyal opposition. Remember when they were called the loyal opposition, Alec? They take on a president, fighting him in every way, obstructing in every way, resisting in every way. There is nothing loyal, but there is everything oppositional in the Democratic Party. So the reason I wrote the book is to put on the record for anyone who wants to pick it up what have been the historic achievements of this president in his first, actually 3.5 years of his presidency. He didn't even need the full 4 years of the first term to achieve historic success. And by that I mean no president has achieved what this president has in 4 years in the country's history. It's remarkable. And done so against so many challenges, so many threats, and the efforts of one party. Think about this. The efforts of one party that have been at work since he was a candidate for the office of president, trying to block first his candidacy, then secondly block his election, then block his agenda, and then to overthrow the president and absolutely remove a sitting president through any means possible, necessary, or available to them. It has been a daily enterprise on the part of what became the party of hate, the Democratic Party. And so that's why I wrote it, to put it straightforwardly in objective terms, what this president has done and what he will do, and what has been his impact already. That is irreversible in my judgment, and will lay the foundation for the next century in this country.
Yeah, he's definitely set the bar high as far as working hard as president. This isn't like the Democratic Party, like we think of the Democratic Party as ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And that slogan seems to be long lost from this party. That just seems to be, awful. When I had the president's son, Eric Trump, on the podcast here, I got destroyed on Twitter, and it's I try to do my best to stay away from the politics, but I do get so much hatred coming from one side, and it's it's been overwhelming for the last 3 years here.
Well, that's only part of the reason I refer to them as the party of hate, because the animosity, the vitriol, the venom they spew is reflexive, it is pervasive, and with any suggestion of a value structure that differs from theirs in any way, it is scorched earth and the politics of personal destruction writ large by some of the smallest people I can imagine who could be that just that vicious. It's really quite extraordinary.
It is, Lou. And let me rein this back into you as a dad here for a moment now. What type of disciplinarian were you as a dad? And is that the similar type of disciplinarians that your kids became once they became parents?
Well, I think that actually I'm very proud of all of my kids. They are very. I wish I could have been the kind of parent they have been. They are extraordinary, I think. They're patient, they're loving, they're positive, and they're there for their kids. It's to me, it's a great statement on their part. I look at them as the role models for parenting, and I would aspire for all parents to be as successful as they have been in their parenting efforts.
Yeah, good stuff. And how has the transition for you been into taking on the role of grandfather here? How has that been? How has that suited you since? What is the change from you as Lou Dobbs the dad to Lou Dobbs the granddad?
Well, I have to tell you, it's a wonderful place to be. You get all the privileges of parenthood and very few of the responsibilities. It's a wonderful time. It really is, and the responsibilities are minimal. But the fact is to watch kids grow and develop and become, young. They're approaching young adulthood. It's really marvelous to watch, and a wonderful thing. And I can't imagine why everybody doesn't have 4 to 8 kids.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We got our girl on the fourth try. We got 3 boys and a little girl. If we didn't get her on 4, we'd have 5 right now. But we got her, and she runs the show over here.
There you go.
All right. Well, listen. Obviously, you've had a long, successful career here. You're at the Fox Business. You got the new book out. What kind of goals or plans do you have here for yourself for the future, Lou?
Well, I'm going to just keep reporting on what is a country in crisis. It is a time when we need what I believe is constant and reliable and accountable reporting on what is going on in this country. And I believe that that's my first job, is to bring a sense of the independent, objective reality that we all face, and look to who is actually getting things done for this country. We were talking about the middle class. The middle class is the center of this country's existence. And without the middle class, we don't have a country. It's certainly not a country that would resemble anything our founders had in mind. So I'm going to keep, throwing my shoulder into the middle of the arena wherever I feel it's necessary, and I'm going to try to represent as best I can the traditions, the values, the aspirations of this great nation. I think it's a great privilege to have the job I've got, and it's one for which I'm eternally grateful.
Yeah, and you just say there that America doesn't exist without the middle class. It also doesn't exist without our family units, which is really the backbone of our country here. And it's like the family unit has come under attack. It's a big reason why I'm out here pushing this podcast. We got so many kids that are growing up without a father in their life. We got a fatherless crisis here, and I think that just that alone, I think, has had such devastation on our society. If we could tighten up our family units, I think a lot of these problems would start going away.
I think you're right. It's a very complicated issue on one level, and on another, so simple. Neither party, although both talk about family values, actually lives up to them. We need to have both parties committed, first and foremost, to the traditional American nuclear family, and to make certain that every policy, we have various policy areas where we have a mandated economic impact of those decisions. And what we really need is, first and foremost, an understanding for every piece of legislation, what will be the impact on the American family, and what will be the impact on those children of those parents in the American family, and how can we do as much as we can to assure that media, Hollywood, our school systems, our corporations are working to make sure that this is that wonderful environment we want for all of our children. I can't think of a more important issue for all of us to think about, to act upon every day, and to put it in that light. I think what you're doing is extraordinary and wonderful, and I commend you for it. A much needed service to the country.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lou. And the last thing I'm going to hit you with here, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about-to-be father who's out there listening?
Well, make sure you did as I did. I actually won the Father of the Year award back in 1993, and I was asked at the luncheon where they give that, how does it feel to be Father of the Year, and how'd you do it? And I said, well, I managed to marry the mother of the century. So I would offer that good advice, if I may, to everybody.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. The Trump Century, available now. Link is in the description of today's podcast episode. Lou Dobbs, you're a first-class father all the way. And thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Alec, you're great. Thank you very much for the invite. Enjoyed it.